The ratings are in for this week's edition of AEW Dynamite on TBS, of course, the post-AEW All-In London episode. WWE reportedly is never planning to launch WWE NXT Europe. Speaking of NXT, of course, all of the talent at the Performance Center are reportedly freaking out over a possible WWE PC move from Orlando, Florida to Las Vegas, Nevada. Arn Anderson breaks his silence on the passing of Sid Udy, also known as Psycho Sid. Mercedes Moné reacts to the mixed reaction to her AEW All-In match against Britt Baker at Wembley Stadium last weekend. Matt Cardona says he's not cleared to compete at TNA Emergence, but promises a mystery monster to face off against PCO. Plus, Matt Riddle says he's in a way different place 11 months after his WWE release. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's begin with the ratings for this week's edition of AEW Dynamite on TBS. As I mentioned, the post-AEW All-In episode of AEW's flagship broadcast. Now, after an action-packed week in the United Kingdom, including the overseas debuts of AEW Dynamite and AEW Collision, as well as AEW All-In at London's Wembley Stadium, All Elite Wrestling was back in the United States for the August 28th episode of its flagship show. Bryan Danielson learned the identity of his first world title challenger, Ricochet, made his Dynamite debut, and Jon Moxley's return to the company left everyone with more questions than answers. For now, though, the only question is how many people tuned in to TBS to see the fallout from All In. According to WrestleNomics, the August 28th edition of AEW Dynamite averaged a total of 691,000 viewers, a slight decrease from the 698,000 viewers the August 21st episode averaged. This number is an improvement on the last month when a number of episodes went up against the 2024 Summer Olympics, but is down more than 20% when compared to the same month, 22%, and quarter 21% in 2023. The show's peak, as usual, came with the first quarter hour. These quarter hour ratings come courtesy of WrestleNomics. Shout out to them, and be sure to subscribe to their Patreon service. You can see it on the screen right there. As I mentioned, the show's peak, as usual, came in quarter hour one with 765,000 viewers, with the show's overrun being the lowest point at 629,000. Viewership did see spikes in quarter hour 5 at the top of the second hour and quarter hour 8 for Ricochet's match with Kyle Fletcher and Bryan Danielson's show closing promo. As far as the key 18-49 demographic number is concerned, there was good and bad news for AEW. The bad news is that the August 28th show earned a 0.22 number, a drop of 8% compared to the 0.24 number earned 7 days earlier. The good news, though, is that according to Programming Insider, 0.22 was enough for Dynamite to rank first for the evening in all primetime cable shows that aired Wednesday nights, beating all three Fox News broadcasts and MTV's The Challenge. So what are your thoughts on the ratings for this week's Dynamite? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Now, NXT Europe, just what is going on with NXT Europe? Of course, after the closure of NXT UK, many wondered what was going to be next for WWE's, status in Europe and possibly NXT's status and involvement in Europe as well. And a new report has shed light on WWE's plans for the long talked about NXT Europe brand, and it seems it might never happen. WWE brought the curtain down on NXT UK back in August 2022 with releases following, as the company did not hold on to all the talent that had been working on the brand. The shutdown came as plans were said to be in place to launch a new NXT Europe brand that would encompass the entire continent, but 2 years later, nothing has still come to fruition, and it's looking unlikely that it ever will. Speaking on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer explained that he was told at the time NXT UK closed that the European brand was never going to happen, but WWE didn't want to admit that they only set up the UK brand to counter the launch of the short-lived World of Sport promotion that featured Will Ospreay and Grado. Quote, I just keep thinking, remember when they closed NXT UK? This was a couple of years ago now, and they were going to immediately reopen NXT Europe, and then they fired almost everyone. Most of the people that worked NXT UK were fired, and I thought, if you're going to do NXT Europe like you say, why are you firing people? They were under $25,000 per year contracts. It's not that they were paying giant money to these people. The cost savings were negligible. Other people were telling me they're never going to do this Europe thing. They say it because they didn't want to admit to shutting down the UK thing, because the UK thing was their original idea to offset that ITV show, World of Sport. I always hear we're doing the European thing, but it's been years now, and I'm hearing less now than I heard years ago that they are. Now, the question is, do you think we'll ever see NXT Europe? Let me know your thoughts about that one too in the comment section below. Now, speaking of NXT, of course, it's taped and broadcast out of the WWE Performance Center, and there were rumors this week that the location could move from Orlando, Florida to Las Vegas, Nevada, with conflicting reports over the future of the WWE Performance Center causing some of the company to freak out. The latest on plans to move to Las Vegas has been revealed. Of course, since its creation in 2013, the Performance Center has been a huge success for WWE. Several of the company's biggest names honed their craft at the facility, and it's proven invaluable for established stars who look to shape up their skills or prepare to return to television after an injury layoff. But the future of the facility was thrown into doubt on August 27th when WrestleVotes reported that WWE was looking to move it from Orlando, Florida to Las Vegas. Quote, according to a source, there was an all-employee meeting today at WWE HQ in Stamford hosted by Mark Shapiro. I'm told the biggest news to come out of the meeting is that the WWE Performance Center will be moving to Las Vegas in the near future. A further report disputed WWE looking to move, but it now seems the company could have plans to move to Las Vegas after all, but stay in Orlando at the same time. Speaking on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer delved deeper into the story and revealed the latest he heard was that WWE was working on having two performance centers. Quote, they had a meeting yesterday with Mark Shapiro. WrestleVotes reported that Mark Shapiro said they were moving the performance center to Vegas. As soon as I saw that, I started asking around a lot of different people. One of the key people in WWE got back to me immediately and said, it's true, but that's not saying they're going to drop Orlando. Basically saying they didn't know if they were going to drop Orlando or not. There might be two performance centers, they might be moving, but they're going to do something in Vegas. At the same time, once this thing gets out, everyone in Orlando is freaking out because almost nobody knows anything. In fact, I was actually told nobody here knows anything. I brought that up to someone else in WWE who said there are people who know, but very, very few. Almost nobody knows. But in Orlando, nobody knew, and WWE basically said, Shapiro didn't exactly say that, but he said something to the effect of Las Vegas has become this big sports market, and we should be involved in that. Later in the day, it became, we're going to have two, one in Vegas, one in Orlando. Not the official story, but what I heard. It's been talked about before, months ago, but it never really got out of they were looking at Vegas. So if we get any more details on what's really going to happen with the PC, of course, we'll let you know in an upcoming video. Of course, this week saw the passing of legendary WWE superstar Sid Vicious, Psycho Sid, Sid Justice, Sid Eudy. And Arn Anderson has remarked on the death of fellow legendary wrestler Psycho Sid. Now, the death of former WWE and WCW World Champion Sid Eudy was announced this past Monday. Sid was 63 years old and passed away of cancer. There was a touching tribute for Sid that aired on Monday Night Raw this week, and many people within the industry have paid tribute to the powerful big man who gave so many memorable moments. WWE Hall of Famer Arn Anderson is somebody Sid knew very well since they wrestled in the same era and for the same companies for many years. They were also part of the legendary Four Horsemen group together, although Sid's run with the group didn't last long. Of course, they're probably most infamously tied together from their famous dispute in 1993. Arn Anderson and Sid had this famous dispute in October of 93 involving scissors that led to Sid getting fired by World Championship Wrestling. Anderson was stabbed with the scissors repeatedly, while fellow wrestler Too Cold Scorpio was credited for saving Arn's life by putting a stop to the incident. Despite the incident, Anderson and Sid worked together again many years later when Sid returned to WCW after another run in WWE. While speaking on the latest Arn podcast on adfreeshows.com, Anderson expressed his sadness when remembering Sid's impact on pro wrestling. Quote, while it was a shock, it always is. Obviously, the wrestling world lost a giant. He was definitely a monster. He left a mark on this business that people will remember for decades to come. He had the best look. I would go this far as to say he probably had the best look of anybody in the history of the business. Just seeing him walking in the room, he's just a monster. Our thoughts and prayers for his family certainly go out, and very, very sad to hear what a huge loss we woke up to with yesterday morning. It's never a shock, but it's a shock. In our business, we beat our bodies up. Our bodies are actually in the dog years, aged a lot. I had no previous knowledge of any illness or anything with Sid, so it was a shock. Like I said, our thoughts and prayers go out to his family, to his fans, equally as much, and let's just give them some thoughts and prayers that they're going to to be needing going forward. Now, Mercedes Moné, her match against Britt Baker certainly received, shall we say, mixed reviews at AEW All In at Wembley Stadium last weekend, and the TBS champion has reacted to those feelings. Now, one of the most highly anticipated matches going into All In London this past Sunday was the TBS Championship match featuring champion Mercedes Moné and former AEW Women's World Champion Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. Moné and Baker went on to have a competitive match featuring numerous submission attempts and near falls, but it was evident that the crowd wasn't that loud for the match compared to other matches on the show. Mercedes got the victory with the Moné Maker slam in the ending that many people called a flat finish because it didn't come off that well. While writing in her latest Moné Mag, the TBS and New Japan Strong Women's Champion, Mercedes Moné commented on what could have caused the issues in the match. Quote, "Audience fatigue. I heard a lot of mixed reactions to my All-In match with Britt. I had a really good time out there with her. I did sense some audience fatigue. It's only natural being third to last as the crowd has already seen over 10 matches before ours. They arrived at 5:30 and by the time we came out, it was around 9 o'clock. That's a long time, but at the same time amazing because AEW really gave them their money's worth. I could hear some DMD and CEO chants, but again, it's harder in a stadium. Britt told me later that on video you can hear crowd reactions much better, and there were more crowd reactions than we felt." Writing further, Mercedes Moné says it's important to look ahead rather than focusing on the past. Quote, "Britt versus Mercedes, is there anything I would have done differently? There is, honestly, a lot, but I don't ever want to go too deep into what-ifs about my matches, or life for that matter. I'll just say that I learned a lot from the match and can only grow by continuing to try new things. I maybe would have listened to my instincts more. I feel I did things maybe that were not necessarily required for that match, things I could have saved for another time, but again, little sense in looking too far back other than what we can learn and use moving forward. One thing is for sure, I can't wait to do it all over again next year in Texas." Now, switching over to TNA and Impact last night, Matt Cardona is not cleared for TNA Emergence this weekend, but he still is going to have some involvement when it comes to a match with PCO. Matt Cardona won't be competing at TNA Emergence, but he has promised a mystery monster in his place to face PCO. On the August 29th episode of TNA Impact, Matt Cardona stated that he was not cleared to compete at TNA Emergence. Cardona said he was training too hard to return from his torn pec and that he may have tweaked something. Santino Marella was not pleased as Cardona gave him his word that he would wrestle PCO at Emergence. Cardona said that TNA doctors wouldn't clear him, but his place would be taken by a mystery monster. Now, no word on who that mystery monster is going to be, but of course, if we find out, we'll let you know. And finally, Matt Riddle has commented on just where he's at in life after his WWE release nearly a year ago. Matt Riddle has been open about the personal struggles he dealt with during his time in WWE. He has talked about how he failed drug tests and has addressed the incident at JFK Airport that came shortly before his WWE departure in September of 2023. Speaking with the New York Post, Riddle commented on the incident where he was being disorderly while getting off a plane. Quote, "While I think WWE was doing the best they could, or thought they were doing the best they could, but at the same time WWE protects WWE, as they should. But at the same time, we're all human. We're all people, and sometimes I think that gets lost in translation in a publicly traded company," Riddle said. Riddle also discussed how his personal life was in shambles during his time in WWE as he and his first wife divorced. He highlighted the difficulty of the travel and the schedule that comes with being in WWE and noted that he was in a different place now. Quote, "Even though I was making great money, my family life deteriorated. I got divorced and other things, and then on top of that, just being able to see the kids, then just taking care of responsibilities when I'm flying to a different city or driving to a different city every day and wrestling and memorizing promos and all these things, a lot of other things fell to the side. I'm in a way different place now. I feel way better. It's hard to explain because most people think, oh, you're there, it must be great. Professionally, my life was awesome. Personally, my life was in a shambles. You lose your family, you lose this, that, and you're trying to rebuild anything and you don't have time," Riddle said. But seemingly, Riddle says he's in a better place now. But there you go, guys. The latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right-hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.